that the Guardian newspaper had decided that they were going to basically give up their role on X, on Twitter, because it's owned by Elon Musk. They think he's a bad person. They think that his influence over the election, using his social media organisation, basically helped with the election for Donald Trump, and they don't approve of that. Of course, if it was used by the Democrats to win, that would be absolutely fine. It's just you have to agree with the Guardian. Anyway, the Guardian have said they will be leaving X social media. Loads of others of the great and the good have said that they would also be leaving X. But now I've got some very serious news. They will be joined, the people who are boycotting X after Trump's election win, by the Clifton Suspension Bridge. I managed to say it almost without laughing. The iconic Bristol structure, designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, has announced it will no longer post on X after changes to the platform made by Elon Musk. The bridge is taking a political stance. And they say, with the rise in inappropriate content, i.e. things they disagree with, and decrease in meaningful engagement with our followers, we have chosen to no longer post to this account. I mean, so someone pointed out, bridges should be better at getting over things.
That's the line today.
I mean, well done. Yeah. You've made the internet today. These people are insane.
Well, I'm slightly worried about why Clifton Suspension Bridge needs a social media officer to staff its X account. That seems to be public sector waste.
Can I just say, this is exactly the sort of thing that Elon Musk is going to tackle. I mean, that's how.
I mean, yes, the world is quaking. I'm sure that Elon's going to withdraw from his position now. Clifton Suspension Bridge is leaving X.
Also, for years, it was a really lefty organisation, and virtually pushing lefty stuff, and basically closing down accounts for people saying things like trans women are not women, they are men, statements of fact, people questioning stuff about lockdown policies that were totally unscientifically based, climate science and the like, and pointing out when things were put on there which are simply untrue. Oh no, people absolutely fine for people being silenced, removed, suspended from Twitter for that. And now suddenly, no, people are saying things that they disagree with. The thing, I'm not aware that Elon Musk is banning people for saying stuff that I disagree with or that I agree with. I mean, it seems to me it's a bit more of a free-for-all. And, I mean, I would like it if people weren't allowed to just go around calling people the C word and the B word and everything else, and that's absolutely fine. There should be rather more action taken on people who are abusive. But you can block people, although I think he's messing around with the block button as well. But it does seem to me to be just extraordinary that the left seems to think that every organisation, social media, others, needs to be completely controlled by them and according to their needs, wants and views and opinions. Otherwise, it must be bad and they must leave it. I mean, these are your mates, Matthew.
Well, the Guardian's pretty critical of the Labour Party at times too, from a left-wing perspective. But it just struck me that in the days when the Guardian relied on its print sales, how many of those newsagents were owned by Tories who were selling it? And if Elon Musk had censored a Guardian tweet, had tried to kick the Guardian off, had made them change content, then I think they would have a strong argument. If it's literally they don't like his politics, but they're still able to use the platform to put out their message, their content, their journalism, that just seems to me daft. It's a bit like the fact the Guardian gives away its content. It's just another bizarre. It's another sort of shooting itself in the foot, because obviously fewer people are going to see its content because the Guardian may be leaving, but most of the users aren't.
Exactly. I just find it utterly bizarre. And also, it's people, especially celebrities, who announce, and bridges that announce they're going to boycott. Just stop doing it. No, you can quietly close your account, and I'm going to go out on a limb. I have a funny feeling that if the Clifton Suspension Bridge closed their account, I'm not sure people would notice.
Without a press release, I don't think so.
I mean...
and Greg Davis, the comedian, has announced that he's leaving, but he's giving us a rundown.
Yeah.
In a few days' time. Not even an exact time.
Which is very annoying, actually, because I really like him, and I think he's really funny. I mean, it used to be with Liz...
He used to be going with Liz Kendall, absolutely.
That's an interesting dinner party couple, isn't it? But there we are. Anyway, look, let's go back to stuff that matters. Although, free speech does matter, and the fact that so many people on the left are just... losing their minds about a democratic election. By the way, The Guardian, the Guardian last week, the Guardian editor actually offered free counselling to members of staff over the Donald Trump win. No, not about October the 7th. Not about reporting on wars. No. They got free counselling for dealing with a democratic vote.
Yeah, look, I felt physically kind of impacted the day after Donald Trump did, but, you know, as I do whenever you lose an election, people who follow football, and they lose a football match, you know, they lose the FA Cup final, then they feel rubbish the next day. But I don't think you need to pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and get on with standing up for what you believe in.
But also the key thing is you should be making your arguments. The key thing for me is if people ever want to shut down the other side from their arguments, means that they must not be very sure of their own argument. I feel no need to shut down the likes of Stonewall on the argument on trans. I don't think the public bodies and organisations should be paying them thousands of pounds to get their stamp of approval, given I've got a completely different standpoint from them on trans issues, which is basically a women's safety and rights issue as far as I'm concerned. But I don't feel the need to shut them down or stop them speaking, because I know that eventually my argument, my side will win, because our argument is stronger and fact-based.
Yeah, look, the whole point of a democratic society is that you have debate, and as long as that
Can
debate...
someone tell the left?
And it disappoints me, because it disappoints me the Guardian's not going to be there on X, because it means that people who, you know, maybe making their mind up, maybe researching an issue, are not going to get different sides of the argument. They're not going to get that. It's a very strong voice.
I go out of my way to make sure that I read different points of view, partly because I want to know what the other argument against me will be, but also I was thinking, well, maybe it will change my mind. And I often change my mind on issues. People say, oh, you might not know much about this. I will often deliberately try and read, you know, 3 or 4 very different perspectives on something to get an idea of, like, OK, so who do I agree with? Who always say, well, no, actually, that does challenge the thing that I thought was true. I didn't know that fact. What's difficult now is so difficult to find any sort of news organisation which will give you just facts, provable facts, without the opinion with it. We get told all the time, oh, you give opinion. Yeah, that's literally my job. It's when the Sky News presenter, and the BBC presenter, and the ITV presenter, when they give opinion, their reporters give opinion all the time. And you can't discern what is a fact and what is your just personal standpoint or your organisation's standpoint.
Well, it's a bit like saying that we could do, if the Clifton Suspension Bridge leaves X, that the world wouldn't notice. The problem now is every broadcast journalist who's there to be on the radio or the telly thinks they've also got to be a Twitter sensation as well. Yeah. So actually, Chris Mason, the BBC's relatively new political editor,
who I love.
He just tweets sort of facts.
Yep.
He doesn't feel he has to give a running commentary, so he tweets a lot less than most of those.
I've known that man for years.
Junior.
He's a very, very good bloke. He's just a totally, absolutely straight down the...
It's a lesson that Twitter doesn't matter in the way that people think it does.
Yeah.
And certainly if you're in Chris's position, it's a good one to try and stick to the facts and not feel you have to give running commentary.
Let's talk about facts, like council tax bills are going to rise by £100, capital frozen 5%. But the thing is, again, they're going to keep going up at a time when, of course, people understand the costs for councils are going up, like they are for every business and every public sector organisation. Minimum wage going up, the national insurance for employers going up, energy bills, your water bills, your rent, everything's going up. Of course, they're going to put their bills up. They're not going to get much more money from government. But people haven't got any more money to give them.
Yeah, I think there's a political danger here for the Labour Party of council tax bills that seem to be an easy way of the government raising revenue, because it's a bit like the winter fuel allowance. It's something people notice because you see it as a line item on your bank account, or you go and pay it. Remember, some people still go and pay. You can't pay it at the post office now. To go and pay point or whatever it's called, you have to go and pay.
I know people who go and pay it because they literally don't. They can't do a direct debit. They don't know if they're going to have the money in their account.
Absolutely, and of course, what everybody forgets about council tax is, or actually maybe they don't forget, is that you're paying it out of taxed income. So it's not like income tax, etc. That you're paying out of income that hasn't been taxed, because, as the clue in the title, you're paying your council tax. You've already paid, up to 45% tax on the money that you're doing on council tax.
I don't think Labour are going to appreciate you paying.
But so what I'd say to the government is if there is a social care, if we know there's a social care crisis, you need to make sure it's funded in different ways. If we have to pay for it, let's pay it in a fairer way. Do you remember in the Gordon Brown days when we were, the stealth taxes that were the big thing, is that Gordon wouldn't put up income tax, wouldn't put up national insurance, just like Rachel Reeves has pledged to, but there were all these things, stealth taxes, and one of the big ones was council tax, which really kind of went up by much more than 5%. And they thought nobody would notice, and they did, and it became a big albatross around their neck.
Absolutely, and again, also those tax thresholds and the like as well. But again, this is the thing where Labour makes these pledges. They make a pledge saying, oh, we're not going to put up, the rates of income tax, VAT, national insurance, and we're going to not put up taxes for working people. And everyone points out, hold on a minute, you put up the employer's national insurance, that is a tax on jobs, also a tax on working people, because it means that the cost of employing that person is higher. You're not going to get the pay rise. Even the Office of Budget Responsibility accepted that was the case. But you also see those tax thresholds where more and more people doing really sort of bog standard jobs would not have been considered highly paid jobs are now at the margins paying the top rate of tax. That top rate of tax is supposed to be for, the bank managers, the top hospital consultants, the police chiefs, not the sergeant,
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely crazy. And the thing is, in Europe, people have a much higher tax rate, their basic tax rate. When we talk about the amazing public services, you look at the amazing transport or healthcare and the like in France and Germany, places like that, and Sweden. They pay a heck of a lot more. They really pay a heck of a lot more tax. And we say in this country, okay, maybe we pay more tax. The thing is here, we've got rubbish public services across the board, and we are paying more and more tax. And people are saying, well, I don't get anything back for it.
Well, I'm glad that the one thing the government did do is get rid of the Tories' freeze on the tax thresholds at the end of the Tory freeze, which is in a couple of years' time. But they did. That was the one thing they did. But they were wrong to get themselves hooked on this phrase of working people, because, those excruciating moments, as you and other journalists asked Labour representatives, what is a working person? And Kel, surprise, Rees, they couldn't agree.
Absolutely.
So I think it's one thing to say you're not going to change tax and national insurance for employees, but don't start saying you're not going to do any taxes on working people, because, frankly, everybody's a working person.
Exactly. Let's also talk about two people who were working yesterday. Donald Trump travelling into the White House spent, a very long, 2-hour-plus meeting with the outgoing president. There was no transition meeting at the White House for Joe Biden in 2021, or other taking. Now, that invitation went out very quickly, almost within a day of Donald Trump winning. It was all about, peaceful transfer of power. There's no doubt at all. This is Joe Biden showing, I want to leave with dignity. I'm going to do what you didn't do, Donald Trump. And I would have expected. I suppose less graciousness from both men, given the vitriol that was spoken about on the campaign trail. These men, they do not like each other, and yet they seem to be old mates meeting up at the pub.
Or the golf course. So I thought that Biden wants to show grace. Mrs. Biden invited Mrs. Trump, but Mrs. Trump didn't quite show the grace. Of course, Trump didn't turn up to hand the seals of power over at the inauguration of Biden. I think it's interesting that Trump, maybe now he's got his second election, has decided that he's going to behave himself and be a little bit more dignified.
Well, one would hope that, and yet not a very dignified new appointment. I thought in his new Attorney General, a man called Matt Gaetz. I think that's how you pronounce his name. This is a man who's a congressman. He faces an ethics investigation over claims of sexual misconduct, bribery, and drug use. He denies it all. So an investigation, innocent or proven guilty. But he's also been the focus of an unsubstantiated as yet sex trafficking claims about a 17-year-old girl. He has got barely any legal experience, certainly, not at the level one would expect for an Attorney General of a major... Now, look, there are people laughing at the new Defence Secretary, but actually that's a man who's got, 2 Bronze Stars, and went to Harvard and Yale, and has served in the military for 20 years, set up his own veterans, help organisation. He's got some credentials there. The credentials here are very worrying, because the politicisation of the whole political system and the legal system in America is, it's already off the scale constitutionally. But, there's got to be some concern about this.
I think it's really concerning. I think, as you say, it's one thing to appoint people who may upset the establishment. This is, he's done it as 2 fingers up, as he sees it, to the establishment, but I think that this is an appointment too far. It looks like there's some rumblings, because you have to be confirmed in the Senate, which the Republicans now have a majority in, but there are some rumblings from Republicans in the Senate that Gaetz won't make it.
And I think again, a lot of these things, they require sort of 60.
Yes, you have to. And so so I think this will be the first test of whether the checks and balances are going to work with the Republicans in theory controlling everything.
We started this hour with very, very important news about the Clifton Suspension Bridge.
Who's that?
Boycotting the Twitter, the X platform. Let's talk about something else very important. Today is a very auspicious day, of course. It is the day of the John Lewis Christmas advert. It went out this morning. It's a bit of a tearjerker. They said it's got an iconic 90s song, I didn't recognise the song at all, I have to say. I haven't watched it this morning and I still can't remember what it is. On this day,
it's Richard Ashcroft. Yeah, he was in the what were they called?
Verve. Oh, it was Verve.
Yeah.
Okay, it was the Verve. Oh, it was. No, it was. No, you're right. I just probably just through the haze of the morning didn't really. No, you're right. I do know the song. But it's about two sisters and wants to try and look for a gift, and it's kind of going in and out of the past and the present, and then she meets, and then she's actually outside the iconic Oxford Street shop. It's the first time these adverts have ever featured an actual store and actually involved buying a gift, because they often don't. They're often very confusing. On this day, I always spare a thought for the poor man called John Lewis, who has the Twitter handle John Lewis. He's a man who lives in Virginia in the United States, and as far as I can tell, spends most of his days basically replying to people's consumer complaints about John Lewis, saying, I think you mean you want John Lewis retail, which does make me laugh. All credit to him, he's very funny. What did you make of the advert? Should we play a little clip for those who haven't seen it? Let's play a little. It's very long. We're only going to play a very short clip of the advert. Have a watch and a listen.
What are you looking for?
Something for you.
You're not going to find it.
No, not here.
I don't want a doll.
I want a nose ring.
Jewellery.
Is it a politician? What's his comment now? What's happening? Everything's going to be fine. He's healthy. He's amazing. This is mine.
What's your problem? It doesn't even look good on you. Get out of my room. And you still haven't even found me a gift.
Yeah, so basically, if you're only listening to that, it probably makes rather less sense. But it's two sisters.
It's a nice song if you listen.
Yeah, exactly. I did remember the song. Two sisters, like trying to work out, is it jewellery? What does she want? What does she want this? And we actually never find out what she does buy for her sister, but she arrives late outside the Oxford Street store. I suppose at least it's got something about,
shopping.
Christmas gifts, shopping.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Guardian's got a good piece that says at least it's about shopping today.
This is about shopping. I mean, some of them, I don't know. There's foxes on bouncing around in the garden. I mean, some of them are just completely bizarre, very sad snowmen. They've got a bit mawkish in recent years, I thought. This one's okay, but again, it's all about the sentiment they're giving. It's all a bit miserable.
Yeah, I mean, so the big thing is the sweater apparently has gone viral. The one of the sisters is wearing, which is a sort of slightly time. I didn't understand it at first. I thought they were a lesbian couple at first. So I thought, when I watched this morning, you said, watch the John Lewis ad. I thought you thought we were going to have a woke, because there's been some issues around the Boots Christmas ad, haven't there? And how
well, there've been some issues about the Boots one, of course.
So I thought this was adding to it, but no, they're sisters.
All of the elves, I think, are almost entirely all black. Apparently, not white. There's this awful white man who plays Father Christmas. So obviously, I mean, again, it's just there's always a message. I don't know, it's just too many messages in adverts now. Why does there have to be a message?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what I miss is the singing commercial. Things like the Morrison's Veg. If you're from up north and you had in the days when Morrison's only up north and the singing veg, you were Southerner Julia, you won't see
call my husband, he'll know.
Yeah, absolutely. More reasons to shop at Morrison's was the slogan. I'm not going to sing it, but the singing veg. Things like that which stick in your mind 30 years later. I'm not sure that this will.
Do you know what I've got in my head right now? For mash, get smashed. That's what I've got. I don't know, randomly that song has just popped in. Didn't adverts used to be more fun when they didn't have a message? I mean, nearly always it has to be a mixed race family. There are no white or black families or Asian families in the country anymore. Every family is now mixed race and everything. Everyone's got someone sort of wacky haired, and they don't represent sort of ordinary families, the average family in this country anymore. Always look at his neighbours.
Well, I'm looking serious. I know. Yeah, I think we do need more representation. You're right. Why don't we have black families, Asian families, white families, as well as mixed race families? But you're right. It's tick box, because that means everybody's covered. It's about covering every angle, isn't it?
Why do you have to cover every angle?
I'm not sure that we do in every ad.
Do you think they do that in Asian countries or black countries? They say we must have a representative of a trans person or a mixed race family. Why don't they just have pictures of what the average person in their country looks like?
You can spot the ads that have been imported from Europe and dubbed, because they always have all white families, and they're not made in Britain. If you watch, they look rather Aryan. If it's a German, ad for cleaning products.
Love to hear your thoughts on this advert. I know we talk about the important things. No, we talk about so much important stuff.